The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome once again to another episode of the Star Sport Podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley. The Star Sport Podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now, this week on the podcast, we will be joined by former Cork and Courcey Rovers camogie player Sara Hayes to give her takes on the current skorts-shorts controversy in camogie at the moment. Sara has won multiple All-Irelands with Cork, and she joined us at this week's podcast to discuss an issue that escalated last weekend. Cork were due to play Waterford in the Munster Senior Camogie final on Saturday, but the game was postponed by the Munster Council on Friday evening, under 20 hours before the throw-in time. The Provincial Council released the following statement. As the committee in charge of the Munster Championship, we've reviewed the situation regarding tomorrow's Munster final. As the current camogie rules of play are still in place and the players have indicated that they would not be prepared to play the game in skorts, the decision has been made to defer the game in the best interest of all players and officials involved. The details of the rescheduled fixture will be released in due course. So without further ado, let's listen to Sara Hayes and get her takes on the current situation at the moment, and hope you all enjoy. So today I'll be joined on the Star Sport podcast this week by Sara Hayes to discuss the skorts and shorts controversy in camogie at the moment. I suppose first of all, Sara, it's, as we were saying off air there, it's not a topic we thought we'd be discussing mid-season, especially with the Munster and Leinster Championships in camogie supposed to be going on. But with Cork and Waterford called off a day before the game was supposed to be, obviously, because the players wanted to wear shorts on the day, it's got really out of hand, really.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, all right. There's so many bigger things to talk about than this. But part of me feels they missed the boat, when it went to Congress last year. That was the time to go for it. And there wasn't enough publicity about it then. I really feel it didn't come out through the clubs as enough. I think there was one email about it. I don't think that was the time to tackle it, but I get it. I think they were probably doing the right thing. If they weren't going to say they're not playing, like they're playing in shorts, and they kept changing, we wouldn't get this far. But look, I'm hoping it'll change because, I don't know any girl who trains in a skirt. I do. Well, I do. I have one player that ever trained in a skirt, and you'd rather wear your brother's shorts than train in a skirt because they are uncomfortable. So I get it. I like the look of the skirts, so I'm all for either or. But the comfort level probably isn't there. So I get it, but there's so much bigger things to talk about. Why wasn't the league final played before a men's game? Things like that. We're talking about, what they're wearing. I'm full agreement that you have to wear your colours, and odd socks are not acceptable. So I'm all for that, and I'm all for a set uniform. But we have to remember, I came from a time where we wore skirts tied around the shorts. So it's just another change. I've been through 3 skirts in my time. I think skirts and a kind of a different material skirt to the new material skirt. And I've had some players saying they wouldn't mind keeping the skirt, but if it was a different material, because it does tend to kind of shimmy up a little. So players, not everybody wants to change, but I think it's a choice. Pro-choice is where we need to be. And hopefully there's a meeting later this month that will just get it over with and get on with the proper issues, like getting people to games, making games public, known, get it out there. Sometimes I don't even know there's games on, because it's just not in your face as much as men's games and things. So, like, we need to talk about bigger things than this,
I suppose with Cork and Waterford called off a day before the game was supposed to be held, the Munster final, may I add as well. That's a disrespect to the players, I'd imagine, as well.
Yeah, but I think that was saving face a little. If they didn't do that, the players were kind of adamant they weren't going to change. So it was either go ahead and have risk. Of course, very awkward for the referees to be put in a position to send them back in or not throw in the ball. So I think it was going to not go ahead on the actual day if they didn't call it off. And the players were making a stand. And the Munster final is okay. It's not related to the All-Ireland Championship, so that's the difference. That was the time to do it. And the Leinster Championship is the same. It's not related. So they need to make a stand, and like, who better to make it than our best players in the country? But the club players feel exactly the same. They want to change. Most of them want to change. They came out to the clubs this week to put to the players, and it was kind of unanimous that they want they're pro-choice. They want either or, not all for one or the other.
As you mentioned there, it is really about pro-choice. Like, there are some girls out there that would rather the skorts, obviously. There's a load at the moment that would rather the shorts, but probably the frustration around the whole island at the moment is the lack of choice with girls in terms of their in their game uniform. But like, is that the key thing to get out of this? Because it's worth noting, the camogie players are speaking out about this, don't want to abolish the skort altogether. They just want the choice, to skort or a short. So that's probably the big thing to come out of all this once the controversy is done.
Yeah. And I think that's what's probably I'd imagine maybe that's what's going to happen. I hope the choice will be there. From our club, that seems to be what's coming through. I think it's the choice as opposed to one or the other. There are people who do want to keep the skort alone, but they actually would rather change the material of it. So they want a different change then, which you can't do everything, but I think the choice is the fair thing to do for everybody. There'll be a fierce run on red shorts now after this, but
Exactly.
O'Neill's be making a packet.
Exactly, yeah. But even look at some of the GPA stats in recent weeks, like, two jump off the page. 83% of the 650 players surveyed wanted the option to wear the shorts or the skirts, and 70% of the 650 players surveyed experienced discomfort while wearing the skirts as well. Do those stats tell a story too?
Yeah, oh, they do. Yeah. Like, I mean, like that, they don't train in skirts. Like that, you wouldn't choose it. If you had them sitting on a bed, a pair of shorts or a skirt, you're going to pick the shorts every day. So like, that will tell you. And like, in all my time when I played for Cork, nobody ever trained in a skirt. I mean, we came to the point where we didn't even train with helmets on for the whole session. That became a change that came through. And remember, one person, Mary O'Connor, was the first person to start doing that. I was like, look at her with the helmet on. That must be killing her with the heat. But now everybody does it, So like, it's just a change that's coming. And like, they train in shorts. They want to play in shorts. Like, I think it's fine. And like, the game is gone really physical, really fast. And there is just like, have I been uncomfortable in a skirt? Absolutely, I have. Yeah, so I think everybody has felt discomfort in it, and they complain about it every now and again, and they've just got on with it all this time. Maybe because they found it hard to get changed. But look, they attempted last year, and hopefully this will drive through. And I think all the players want it, and I hope that most counties have gone out to their clubs, and because that's where it matters, at the grassroots, the clubs, that's where all the players are. I know inter-county players are so many players, but the clubs are where all the players are. So let's get it from the actual grassroots. What do they want? And it's a generational change, Under 10s don't play in skirts at the minute, I don't think anyone in my daughter's team plays in a skirt, maybe one. So it's it's going to be the middle generation that have the huge change, hopefully, if it comes through. But for the younger girls, that's not a change. They all train in shorts as it is,
Having seen the amount of big personalities in camogie come out in the past few weeks, obviously it was Ashley Thompson and Niamh Rockett in Cork and Waterford, respectively. Ashley Marr from Dublin. These key figures in camogie, one of the best players that the youngsters would look up to them and think, if they're speaking about this issue, then you probably need to change it. So how big is it that these sort of big camogie players are speaking about this issue?
Well, I'm sure they'd rather be doing other things as well. And, I suppose they're out there, they were our top players, they're the people everybody knows. If they don't speak about it, it definitely won't filter down. And if I don't think a change will come, but I'm sure that they would rather be spending their time thinking about their preparation, their recovery, you know, their hurling, their fitness, rather than going, oh, I have to do another thing about the skirt, you know. So like it seems like a waste of time for our top players to be doing this, but it does have to come from there, and hopefully that's why the change will come. And I think they were probably right to just hold tough on the changing. They weren't going to change last weekend, so that's why they took the decision to cancel that game.
And I see recently, I think Anna Geary was on prime time, and she made a very good few points, obviously. But one point she made, she did a show recently, why girls quit sport, and she said one of the reasons why the dropout was there among young girls was the gear that they wear among in camogie, whether it be obviously with the skirt, they're included as well. Do you think it affects young players in terms of wearing a skirt as well?
I probably haven't thought about it or seen it as much as that. Like I've trained underage teams, and I see it. I think it's just because it was the norm. And again, you come to a match, you're not allowed to play if you don't have well, you can play if you don't have a skirt, but you could be fined, obviously. But like I would have always have had a rule with my teams: don't come in the wrong gear, because the gear is the gear, and unless that gear is changed, that's what you're wearing. And it's the same for any other thing. If you're going to taekwondo, you'd arrive in the right gear, So like, the change has to come, but like as long as they're the right color, I don't think it matters. Like, and will it look funny if half of them are in skirts and half of them are in shorts? I think after a while you won't see it. I'm not sure if anyone sees it. You're looking at faces instead of the gear. So I don't know if it puts young people off the game or not. Like they definitely get to a point where then you're like, oh, I must buy a skirt maybe around 11 or 12. I must buy a skirt to start playing now. And our parents, they're like, where do I get the skirt? What size do I get the skirt? And then it depends on the girl whether she finds that uncomfortable. But like that, if they found it really comfortable, why wouldn't they train in it? And they don't. I see it down the pitch every night. They don't train in it.
How long do you see this controversy rolling on, Sarah? Because obviously it has rolled on for 2 weeks now. After the Leinster semi-final, no, a Munster final has been called off. With the championship going very, very soon as well in the All-Ireland series, how long do you see this rolling
on? Hopefully all the counties are going to come back next week with their votes from their clubs to say what they want to vote. I'm hoping that this will. I don't know what are the ins and outs of getting this through. Because we missed the Congress and it's not on for 2 more years. But I don't know, can they do an emergency Congress and change this? But I'm hoping, could it last for another month? But will they play in that time is the question. I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be over in 2 weeks or a week, because I think everybody's, not sick of talking about it, but it's a very important issue. But there are more important issues to talk about: access to pitches, people at games, making sure we're getting the profile out there, getting access to games, getting publicity out about games. I don't really go on social media too much, so if you're not there, you might not see it. But at the same time, when I was on it, you'd have to go looking for it, trying to get tickets to games. Not overly easy to find a ticket to get into the game. So there's a lot bigger issues to talk about. Let's go after those. And the one club, get that in place. For girls, we need to get more and more games on TV. Everything, I think we just need this. We do need this to move on. And let's make that change. Hopefully, if we can get it through.
You talked about the game needs to move on. Obviously, there's more issues to talk about. The Congress, an emergency Congress, special Congress, is going to take place on May 22nd. About the skirt and short vote. If it goes through, obviously there won't be much problems. Obviously, the All-Ireland Championship will continue as normal. But if it doesn't go through, Sarah, what influence will that have for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think it'll leave sour taste for sure. I'm not sure how the players will take that. Different for me because I'm not the one putting it on, I'm just a facilitator that trains a team and needs to get the team out on the pitch. But I can understand that it will cause upset and just, I suppose this is their shot to get it changed. And I'm just hoping that the clubs, everyone has done due diligence, everyone has come out to their clubs has come from County Board down. They've gone out, they've got the votes back, or they've got the decisions back, and they'll actually go through. Because I think Cork might have been a no vote the last time at Congress. So we have a lot of clubs. We need people it needs to go down and come back up. And I hope everybody's done that. We definitely have done it in our club here. So I'm hoping everybody else has done it, because that's what's important. And that's how this is going to get through the clubs, actually, to come back up to the county boards,
Just one final point as well. Look, I was listening to a podcast recently, John McCarthy was speaking on Cork's Red FM about it, saying that obviously sponsorships might be an issue as well. Obviously, Glendimplex sponsored the Camogie Championships, Kerry sponsored the Camogie Leagues. If they're seeing this controversy, what do you think the sponsors would think about all this? Would they, like, if the motion doesn't pass on May 22nd, is there a possibility that they could pull the plug? And that would be a detriment, obviously, to the Camogie Association.
I don't know. I'm not sure that they would. I mean, like, I suppose there's so much talk about camogie now that it might be rising the profile even more. But I'm not sure that they would, because, like, they're still getting the same publicity regardless. And, like, unless we get more on TVs and things, that's where their sponsorship gets worth a bit more for them. So, like, and that's not, that needs to change. That's got nothing to do with this. So I don't think they will. I don't think it'll have any impact. I'd hope not, anyway. But it's hard to know, I suppose.
And just maybe a simplistic question: do you think the motion will pass?
I do. Yeah, I do have a feeling it will go through. Yeah, just from the feeling from the players. Yeah. And the fact that the intercounty players made such a big stand about it, like, that was a brave thing to do, considering what happened in the Leinster semi-final the week before, where they actually went and changed. And we needed Cork and Waterford to say we're both going to hold tough here. Because if one team didn't, then it was null and void again. And I think that would have been detrimental to the whole argument. Yeah. So I do think it'll go through. And for girls, I hope it does go through, because I just want this issue to move on, because we've bigger fish to fry.
Exactly. So hopefully this issue will be resolved in the next few weeks, and obviously Congress on May 22nd, hopefully the motion will pass. Thanks, Sarah, for coming on to the podcast today, and thanks very much for coming on.
Cool. Thanks, Matthew.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we discuss what's in this Thursday's Southern Star Sports section. And as usual, it is jam-packed. We cover the shorts and skort controversy in depth in this week's paper, as Ger McCarthy gives a column on the events that have happened over the past week. John Hayes has his weekly column as well this week, and he talks about the Cork Miners' victory over Tipperary, which went to extra time in Thurles this week, and John gives his thoughts on the current Cork Miners at this present moment in time. Clonakilty kept up their 100% winning start in the County Football League by beating St Finbars and Ahmilla. Ger McCarthy was there for us to report on that game. Also, Clonagale got the better of Munster in the confined Junior B Football Championship derby, which was the county championship, and we also have a report and reaction on that game. Also, Carbery GA celebrated their centenary event in the Parkway Hotel in Dunmanway last Sunday. We have a 4-page special with a piece from Tom Lyons and photos from the event itself. In soccer, Loy Rovers and Drina Rangers tasted success in the West Cork League finals. Loy Rovers in the men's side winning the Championship Cup over Bay Rovers by a 1-0, and Drina Rangers winning on the 3-1 scoreline over Loy Rovers in the Women's Cup final. We have reports on both of those games as well. In rowing, Skibbereen Rowing Club had a huge medal haul in Ghent in Belgium recently, and we have a piece on that. In athletics, Phil Healy competed for Team Ireland, and Team Ireland qualified for the World Championships in Tokyo later this year, the mixed relay team and the women's 4x400 metre relay team as well, and Phil contributed heavily to that. We will have a piece in this week's Star about that. The usual features again this week, including row bowling, Martin Walsh's motorsport feature, and much, much more. So an action-packed week in Southern Star Sport headquarters. And also this week in the paper, the West Cork Farming Awards May monthly winner will be revealed in this week's edition of the Southern Star. So pick it up when you get the chance on Thursday. And as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you could subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.